Welcome back to Cryptolytics, giving a fresh take on crypto analytics. And this is your crypto recap, where I cover some of the things going on in the crypto space. So let's jump in. Okay, so here we are on the cycle chart. So it's my weekly Bitcoin chart, and things are looking pretty good. I mean, this week so far has been a 5.77% move on Bitcoin, and the week prior was 7.8. So all in all, we've gone up about, well, to the top about 17%, which is really nice. So you had that crossover on the stochastic RSI. As I mentioned, the green zone is when to look to start to buy, and that was around here, so around 62k. You know, we got a wick all the way down in the green zone to 57k, to be honest, and I did actually buy down there, and that was because of a TDSS9 buy signal that I got, among other things as well. Also a bounce off the bull market support band, and this could be the completion of our fourth wave on the Elliott wave theory. So that's a fourth wave, that would be the corrective wave, and now we could be looking at our next expansive move, wave 5. But we'll definitely have to see how that goes. There's no telling if we just want to sort of start to consolidate here, and I've got a sign that maybe this might actually be a point where we start to consolidate. So maybe this is a range high and we just sort of start to range here, but we'll have to actually see what happens. I think there's enough bullishness though in the market to propel this forward still and get up to that 80 to 90k target, which I've mentioned in the last few videos. But that's pretty much all I have to report on this chart. So here we are now on the daily parabolic SAR chart, and you can see here we're actually printing a TDSS9. Now this, I don't believe, is a completed print, so it needs to be the end of the day before this actually prints. So I think if we get a little bit of bullishness by the end of the next candle close, which is in about 24 hours time at the time I'm recording this, almost, then that's when in the past we actually consolidated. So have a look here. So when we've put these in before, we have kind of lost a little bit of momentum when we've actually printed some of these. Not every time, because here was like a fake out, and that was just a massive leverage flush within the system. But nearly every other time, at least since the start of this cycle, whenever we've printed a TDSS9 top, we've kind of just chopped around. Sometimes we've chopped and gone up still. So maybe that's what we'll get. We'll get a slow chop and grind to the upside, like we did here. And, you know, in this case, we kind of went sideways. We go up a little bit, came back down, put in another buy signal. Again, nearly every time it's sort of marked a, you could say like a local top, I suppose, or at least a point where we could grind around sideways, except for Jan 2023. That would have been a terrible time to sell if you're using these as buy and sell signals. But everything was really choppy around then because the market was super low. Sentiment was in the bin due to the FTX collapse and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, kind of ignore that, I suppose, because every signal, even the PSAR signals, were a mess back then as well. So regardless, that could be something that we get if we get a full print on the daily. So we'll have to see what we do tonight, right? So what we do tonight will potentially change that, the outcome of this print. So it's not on the chart permanently yet. But anyway, we got that very strong breakout of this trend line and we flipped bullish. And I've been in this long now ever since around here. All the things that I bought down here were just spot buys. But on my sort of leverage trades that I've got in Drift, that was taken from around here because I got a P, which is a profit point, and I saw a re-entry, so I took the re-entry signal. And so yeah, that's basically roughly where I am. Not exactly, but doesn't really matter. So it's about 8% it was, and now it's gone down a little bit. That's okay. Everything else, let's have a look. Anything too crazy there on the short term or the daily RSI. I mean, it's a bit of a mess, I suppose, in terms of divergences. And the stochastic, not the stochastic RSI, but the weekly stochastic has gone back into bull mode. So it's flipped back into positive. Last time we did that was down here. So yeah, I don't know if we'll emulate it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But nevertheless, things are definitely looking a lot better. There's no doubt about that. The other thing I'm seeing as well is we've got both trend meters flipping to green. So I've mentioned these trend meters before. So that's the Ichimoku TK cross. So if you're a Ichimoku trader, this is the TK cross. So this is the Tenkan and the Kijun moving averages, if you will. They have crossed back to bullish. Now we still need a proper close here on the daily, which I think we'll probably get. And also the CVI has gone back to bullish and expanding out as well, as in the cumulative volume index trend meter, which, yeah, that's 2 greens. And last time we got 2 greens on the trend meters was around 49k. So it's definitely looking better. I think everything's looking a lot better and a lot more bullish. And I mean, I've been bullish nearly the entire time, but anyway, that's okay. In a bull market, it's safe to be bullish. Let's be honest. It's a lot more unsafe to be bearish and make counter trade calls. I did get a few sell signals here on Bitcoin, And yes, I opened up a very small short here. It's down, of course it's down, but I've got a very large long that has completely overcome that, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's move on. I can't really say anything about the moving averages chart because, well, because we are above all of them, then and they're sort of all angling to the upside. That's generally quite bullish. So the 21, the 50 angling up, 21 day, 50 day, and the 20 week moving averages are all pointing up. 200 is also pointing up, and the 100 is slowly moving up as well. When all your moving averages are facing up, especially after a small period, like downturn period, you didn't really ever get anything there. Well, it's just generally a sign that the trend will likely continue, probabilistically. Bullish calls would be in your favor, essentially, when all of these things align. So another really interesting thing here, this is another cycle analysis chart. So looking back all the way to the start of Bitcoin's history, we got a stochastic heat map on this chart as well. So you can see when we're overbought and oversold. So probably needed to change the threshold on that. But anyway, I think regardless, we've entered the sort of box that we get after the halving typically, which is our massive expansion phase, right? So we get a halving and then we get this afterwards generally. So halving and then this afterwards. So we're already getting it, to be honest. I think a lot of the sort of bearishness is all sort of short-term intraday stuff, but macro, we're still heading in that upwards direction. So a lot of pullbacks are your opportunities to load up if you are underweight on certain assets, especially altcoins, which have sort of bled the most during the corrective phases of late. But this is something we have to look forward to. The upside target on this one is about 130K. I think the last few videos I've mentioned 130K as a potential upside target as well, at least throughout the entire cycle, right? And this is going until 2025, I think this one is, which isn't too crazy when we enter this zone. Now, the other thing as well is that the Fear and Greed Index is at about 76. Now, last time Bitcoin was at this price level, Fear and Greed Index was 80. So everything was so much more bullish because we had already put in a lot of bullishness recently. So the recency bias was still, yeah, we're still good, even though we'll start coming into a correction, which you can't see under that ticket, but that's exactly what happened. But now because we've just come out of a correction, the sentiment has reset, which is nice. It's good, actually. We needed this bit of a sentiment reset. So 76, when the same price, we were at level 80. So market's still unsure whether to be bullish yet, but I mean, most signs are indicating that bullishness is definitely warranted. Saw this chart and I wanted to clarify the pattern. So BTC weekly has closed and it was a bullish week, definitely a bullish week. Now, this was actually at 66.6K. In fact, a few of my charts and analyses that I was saying it's time for a move to the upside that I was posting on my X were preceding this most recent move to the upside. And this is definitely one of them. So just to clarify what is important about this RSI pattern. So this is the RSI. You can see that we're very oversold, right? So very oversold compared to the last correction. Well, this is a hidden bullish divergence, which is a sign of bullish trend continuation. So it's actually a very strong signal, the bullish hidden divergence, especially on a higher time frame. As with all patterns like this, the higher the time frame, the stronger the signal. Now, this here, the RSI is lower here than it was here, but the price here is higher than it was here, which means this is a lot more oversold than it was back over here. So this is a more aggressive correction than this one was here. Essentially, bullish hidden divergence, sign of trend continuation. What did we get after 66K? Well, we went up to 72 almost. So there you go. That was not wrong at all. I saw this post and I thought it was kind of funny. So never forget. I don't know who Darren Ruvel is. Actually, I don't know a lot of the people on crypto Twitter are, to be honest. I didn't even know who Ansem was until like a month ago. So, anyway, this guy says, no, Bitcoin will never hit 70,000 in its entire history. And it only got 170 reposts and stuff. So I don't know how big this is. But anyway, this is from 2022. Yeah, this was the bear market, right? So that makes a lot of sense. And my answer to this is I think that anyone who actually understands what Bitcoin is and how it works probably would never put a cap on upside targets, because if they do, they'll probably eventually be proven wrong. Why do I say that? Because Bitcoin is finite, fiat is infinite, okay? One has a supply cap, one has a maximum circulatable value, and one has an infinite circulatable value. So fiat can just keep printing, devaluing itself, whereas Bitcoin stays within that 21 million. And it's constantly being burnt by people like me and many others who have either lost their keys or, I don't know, sent it to the wrong wallet, address or whatever, you know, Bitcoin is being burnt as well in ways. So it's kind of deflationary in a way. And when I say people like me, I mean that, for example, you know, I've got 0.3 Bitcoin stuck in a wallet, which is in the Summery wallet. So I can't get that out. So that's just stuck there forever. Even though I've got my keys, I can't restore it because of the BIP39 passphrase standard. But anyway, this is just something that I thought was kind of interesting and kind of funny. But anyway, let's move on to the biggest news this week, which I would say is most definitely the fresh ETF news for Ethereum. Now, this was kind of thrown under the bus and a lot of people were super bearish on it. Personally, I saw the bearishness as an opportunity to layer into a long trade, which I have in Drift. So my position in ETH, essentially, it's not exactly using my normal strategy. So I did take a short out on ETH back at around 39.60 because I got a signal on my strategy. I know this is probably a bit crazy, this chart, but I ended up adding to it here and then I closed it around 0.618. So I closed it around there, essentially. So you can see where I sold, I shorted there, I added to it there, added to it here as well. So it was a pretty nice position, but I closed it. And I just saw all this bearishness in the market and I was just like, all right. And then when I saw it approaching this line, this trend line, I was like, all right, it's time to get into this. Like I kind of front run my strategy, to be honest, and I opened up a decent sized position here at this level. And then it got rejected off the trend line because I kind of jumped the gun and then it just went straight back down. I was like, oh, it's okay. And I started adding little bits here or there at this support, which I've had drawn in for ages, right? I think I would have shown this chart in the past. And essentially we broke out and that was it. Like, so I'm quite happy that I started building my position around even here and here because my actual strategies would be up at 3,666, whereas I'm actually at about I think it's 3,175. Yeah, that's what it says there on the chart anyway. So that was just a technical based trade and that was kind of, everyone was quite bearish. And even I was seeing a lot of people like, you know, with all the bearish ETH to SOL charts, Bitcoin to ETH charts, I was like, it's just a matter of time until something comes out for ETH, like a bullish catalyst. And we got it. So we had even Gary, you know, back in May 6, 2021, was testifying to Congress that the SEC does not have the authority from Congress to regulate crypto exchanges. So this was kind of like, you know, there's all this stuff, right? And these guys just keep getting into lawsuits and they don't really go anywhere with them. And they were just mucking around with all this sort of stuff. And I think that, you know, the sentiment overall among crypto investors in the US was becoming quite bearish towards the Democrats, right? So all it took was this. So the Dems have done a full 360 regarding crypto hawkishness, right? So we got the Warren anti-crypto army. They're gone now. We got SAB21 and FIT21 bills looking to fix the mess that the SEC caused and sort of bring crypto more into a accepted and more so embraced category. Because to be honest, as we're all well aware at this point, the Democrats were just super, super hawkish towards crypto. So we got these bills passing and being voted on. I believe FIT21 still being voted on. But who do we have to thank for all of this? We got the guy wearing mug goggles, this guy right here. So that's MacD Gods. It was him because at a Trump rally, essentially he asked Trump about, and I'm sure you already know this, but he asked Trump about how restrictive everything has been towards crypto. And Donald Trump was like, that's fine. I'm fine with crypto. And even now he's accepting crypto for donations for his campaign. So Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, USDC, XRP, Doge, SHIB. I think Cardano was on there too. This is not a very good image. Is that Stellar? What is that? Anyway, basically he's accepting crypto donations. So the Dems have had to completely flip the script because crypto voters are one issue voters. They don't necessarily care about anything else other than their bags because that's just how they are, I guess. That's how we are. Another result of this is we've got Bitcoin dominance tanking completely because of that massive spike in Ethereum, right? I mean, if we come back over to the Ethereum chart, we could see even off the news, Ethereum rallied to its top of about 23%, right? So 23% move off of that news. And that's huge for Ethereum. That's the biggest single, at least 12-hour candle we've seen since last cycle's bull market. And that entire move, if you look at market cap, was the entire market cap of Solana in one daily candle, which is actually insane. Now, I was going to look at Dex Screener to show you, but ETH doesn't come up in Dex Screener, unfortunately. But we can just see here the market cap before the news was about 370 billion, and then it shot up to 450 billion, which is an $80 billion inflow into Ethereum. $80 billion. $80 billion. That's absolutely insane. That is right now Solana's market cap right there. See, $80 billion. How crazy is that? Anyway, this is incredibly bullish, but the way I see it is the same as the way Gumshoe sees it. So the ETH ETF approval is more bullish on Sol than ETH. Why? If it's approved, the next ETF is probably Sol. Maybe. I would say that's fairly likely. If it's rejected, which is not so likely at this point, there's less reason to buy ETH and Sol is more attractive. But also, this is also a very good point. What I don't like is that now, if the market will price in the approval, well, $80 billion is proof of that. And if it gets delayed, we will nuke. So that's definitely a very, very good point. But anyway, so here we are. Essentially, we've got the BlackRock has amended their Ethereum ETF application after the SEC request. Standard Chartered Bank says it expects SEC to approve the spot ETH ETF this week. Market analysts suggest a 75% plus chance of approval by the final deadline on May 23rd, which is, well, in a couple of days' time. And ETH surged, well, more than 20% following the news. So it's pretty crazy overall. And we've got VanEck Spot Ethereum ETF has been listed on the DTCC under the ticker ETHV. I mean, if this has been listed here already, then I think it's pretty much happening. I would say we're at 90% chance of approval now, right? The SEC asked exchanges to update their 19B4 filings for spot ETH ETFs. But one caveat is that the Ethereum spot ETFs have now removed staking from their applications. So initially, the spot ETFs plan to pay interest to the stakeholders, I guess in the form of dividends, for example. But now they won't do this. So likely the SEC told them they couldn't do it, which is really not ideal, right? It just means that it's an investment vehicle and it takes away the extra alpha that we get from staking. So I suppose that would mean then maybe whatever ETH they buy for the ETFs, they could stake it themselves and then earn all of that interest themselves. So these guys could make an insane amount of money. I don't know what they're going to do with that, or if they're maybe just not allowed to do it. We'll have to see, because we don't really know everything yet, of the listings and all that sort of stuff. But does that mean that all of these investment firms are allowed to do the staking and then just keep the profit from it? Because that would be an incredible profit model for them if so, which is I don't know. It's not the best, to be honest, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. It's probably all we can really chalk it up to at this stage. And with regards to this post that I did on May 14th, which was when Roaring Kitty was doing all the rounds with the GME stuff, in one of his videos, there was what looked like an Ethereum logo, right? What's Roaring Kitty all about? Well, it's all about the short squeeze. And I said in here, is ETH short squeeze next? Well, maybe. And, well, according to on-chain analytics and exchange analytics, about $85 million in shorts were wrecked on that move to the upside, which if we drill down, we can see here, they're about 80.7 million. You can see on the screen there of shorts were liquidated on that one day alone. And an additional today and yesterday, so 40 million roughly. So that's about 120 million have been liquidated in the last couple of days alone. $120 million worth of shorts were liquidated, and then also obviously a lot of stop losses were triggered as well, which aren't liquidations but add to the buying pressure. Because when a liquidation on a short is triggered, that's a forced buy event, and when a stop loss is triggered on a short, that's a forced buy event as well. So we would have had a lot more than this, right? Would have had a lot more than this. So overall, this is very, very bullish for the space overall. And I think that once the Ethereum ETFs are passed, then it's only a matter of time until some of the other assets get ETFs as well. And basically the Democrats have given up their fight against crypto. And, it's just like that quote by Max Kaiser. I mean, obviously this is just about Bitcoin, but you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. Essentially, you can keep trying to fight it, but then eventually you'll have to capitulate and lay down your arms and, and surrender. We're coming whether you like it or not, essentially is the long and short of it. And I guess if we just generalize that across all crypto, which Max Kaiser wouldn't be happy with, but let's just say that if we do, then essentially this is a good sign that, there's bigger things to come. Now, will Solana be the first ETF after Ethereum? Maybe. I don't know. It might be a little too young, right? Because Solana is not as old. So maybe the next ones will get us some of the more archaic older chains. Maybe we'll get a Cardano ETF next because it's a lot older, right? But who knows? We don't really know what's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. But I feel like Solana has a pretty good chance to get into sort of the next potential round of ETFs because it just makes a lot of sense because it's a very used chain and a lot of people are bullish on it. Even people like Raoul Pal, for example, who is definitely plugged in and has his fingers on the pulse. And his third favorite asset, I think, after Ethereum is Solana. Now, this is one interesting thing that Raoul Pal said, and this is one more thing that I've been talking about for a while. What happens to the price of ETH if there is a big demand for the ETF and 30% remains staked off market and burning makes supply deeply negative as activity rises? That could create a banana zone squared. So definitely very bullish, although we've seen a massive decline in Ethereum activity, and a lot of the activity is being sort of divvied out to its layer 2s, to be honest. You know, if we look at Ethereum here on Artemis, for example, we can see daily transactions is flatlined. There's barely anything there. You can barely even see it down there on the chart, compared to something like Solana, where we've got 30 million transactions. I don't know if that's all non-vote, but 30 million transactions. We've got C quite high as well. Even after its spike with the spam, that spam thing, it's still doing pretty well overall. Daily active addresses, pretty low. I mean, Ethereum is still pretty flat. TVL is very high, admittedly. So I think a lot of people will just put their money in there and just sort of forget about it for a while, for the most part. And we saw the revenue come down quite a lot, but it spiked up just recently with that ETF news. So that's what I mean by the activity on Ethereum is more so divvied out to the layer 2s, like Arbitrum, Base, you know, all that sort of stuff. I don't know why Base isn't on here or the other ones, but nevertheless, it's just a small indication there. But, you know, it might pick up again, especially with more institutional adoption. You know, we might see big institutions come in. I mean, even BlackRock have their own wallet. So big institutions start to use ETH more, then that's potentially where this will come from. Now, all I can say from a retail perspective is, if you thought ETH gas was bad now, imagine how much you'll be paying for one transaction when ETH is worth 10K. It basically becomes unusable for us, not for them, for us. And even L2 fees would spike like crazy, right? We'll be talking like $5, $6 transaction fees on the L2s potentially. So the ETH ETF could get us there. So ETH would be great for an investment vehicle for this, but terrible for those who want to use the chain or even the L2s, in my opinion, which is why I think something like Solana still has a solid place among the various chains out there, right? Overall, I think things are looking pretty bullish right now, and we're getting ready for some bigger moves to the upside. I really do think. And you know, we might get a little bit of a consolidation or a bit of a sideways period as we got that TDSS9 top, and it sort of gave us indication of the past that we might sort of consolidate for a while. But overall, once we're sort of ready to go, I think more bullishness is likely, especially if the ETF actually passes. Then I think that this will probably be ignored, and Bitcoin will probably go up with Ethereum as it did a couple of days ago. So I'll wrap this one up here, and I'll do the Solana ecosystem update in its own video and various other things that I'm seeing in the market as well, just to break it up and make it a bit easier to digest. So if you want to watch the Solana ecosystem update, it's the one coming out after this, and hopefully I see you on there. So until next time, keep safe out there. This is Cryptolytics signing out. Have a good one.